few seconds to percolate in. And over here at the live mic, yes, we're now doing some live radio. We have about 7:05, 7:06, yes, here at the Voice of Stockton. And I am Richard Slezak. This is the Voice of Stockton. It's the Saturday evening news coming to you live over YouTube as well. And I'm going to mark that down. YouTube show start. And our red mic sound board on switch is not working. I'll need to replace that later on. And I do have my computer in front of me. And so we're going to get to some things to set up for the recorded portion of the show. Uh-oh. There we go. Put in my password that I prefer not to tell you. No need for you to know. And Amazon has snuck its way onto my computer and comes up first and then goes off first. Going down here to pull out the PDF that I got from the Washington Post, that the Justice Department has other reports, but didn't have that exactly, pardon the term, posted up in a timely fashion. And frequent folder, let's see. Don't have exactly up there what I would like, but where's the mouse? Somewhere on the page. There it is. Now, yesterday I went to Documents and was able to pull something up in a timely fashion. And there it is. And we're going to pull it up. Bam. Okay, going to open it up. Boom. And get it out. And then we're going to do some weather. Actually, first let me get this up, and then we'll go do the weather on the other computer. And that'll be a little precarious because, well, might use the green mic for that. And got this green mic available. I don't know where what its range across the studio is. And there it is, a report on the investigation into Russian interference in the 2016 election. Got that up. And so first though, we got some stormy weather here in Stockton. And so let's see. Hey, we got some range with this mic, so I can just bring it over here and set this right on the counter. And are we getting some reading? Yes, we are. And let me get a microphone, headphone set out going. And so, sure we do. And so next step is to, bam, and go to the 7-day forecast. And that was for yesterday, so we can do a simple thing here. What we do then is delete. Wait a minute. Oh. Maybe if I go to the end, bam, and then go across, and it's not responding. Oh, wrong computer. All right, and now www.weather.gov, and now we can just do a simple mouse click, and we'd welcome your feedback. I can blink that out. Okay, weather.gov, and we'll be finding out momentarily. That looks like well, this kind of looks like yesterday's map. I thought that might have been an update. This is pretty much identical to yesterday's map, so I'm going to try that again. www.weat. Okay. National Weather Service. Man, not sure. But anyways, what we have on the national weather map, I will report to you on. And basically, well, I just don't trust that thing. I think it's yesterday's map. Although there are some changes. Okay, here we're going to go ahead. Storm watch over Mississippi, Missouri, western Kansas, and okay. Can we come out there? Alrighty. Missouri, western Kansas, eastern Kansas, eastern Nebraska, and western Iowa. We seem to have a nice tan area. Winter wind advisory, and more like gale wind, and that's about it. Okay, over central Kansas, central Nebraska, we have more of the same. Okay, over Minnesota and the Dakotas, we have winter storm warning. Surrounding that and into Wyoming, we have freeze warning, winter weather advisory. Then along the eastern seaboard, that's what we have in Pennsylvania, New York, and New England. Winter advisory, winter weather. Along the eastern seaboard, look to have winter storm warning, as well as along the west coast. Winter storm warning and freeze warning, winter weather advisory from Point Conception down to Monterey County, over the Sierras, the Cascades, and the Siskiyous. We have winter storm warning, and that also, yeah, that's what's going on around here. So that's why it's kind of peculiar that we'll be finding out momentarily in our local forecast how much of an update we have going on here as I slowly type this in. And we go to it. And so this is as of 30 November, 6:35 p.m. Overcast with 48 degrees. Wind is 25 miles per hour. Yeah, it's been windy here out of the southeast. And so it's been storming. And so we have now until 5 a.m. wind advisory. And yeah, that could be as 10 a.m. until 10 a.m. Sunday. And then Saturday night, wind advisory, rain and breezy with a low forecast of 46 degrees. Sunday, raining and breezy with a high of 56. Sunday night, rain and breezy with a low of 55. Monday, showers, then chance of showers with a high of 60. Monday night, chance of showers 40%, low of 40 degrees. And then Tuesday, 40% chance of showers with a high of 59. Tuesday night, 50% chance of showers with a low of 52, and Wednesday, chance of rain with a high of 58. All right. And, oh heck, let's get something up here. That's the show logs. I'd prefer that, and then kind of put it aside, which we will do at this time. And next thing on our list of things to do is bring up the Facebook live webcast, so you could get audio and video on Facebook. This is the Voice of Stockton. We have 7:20 p.m. Saturday evening news. Waiting for the YouTube billboard to come up and print on. Alrighty, there we go. And I can, oh, wait a minute, yeah, do the delete on the on the lower keyboard. Pardon me while I put the green mic in its mount and proceed to type the Saturday evening news, and then go down to the next line. Yeah, that's good enough. And we'll delete that out. With host Richard Slezak. All right. Good enough. All righty, going to start broadcast. Bam. Welcome, Facebook viewers. Now, our next step is we're going to get the recorded portion of the show going momentarily. And do a little delete there and put on today's date. -11 -30 colon Saturday evening news. Alrighty, about to start in got 7:22, about to start in 3, 2, 1, 0. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Saturday Evening News. We got 7:22 p.m. coming to you from the Voice of Stockton, the John Moriarty Studios, 231 West Bedford Road, Stockton, California. And we're following our news magazine format, continuing on the Mueller report. This is episode 23, and we're going to be migrating over to the big desk now to do that portion of the show. Hang up the little headset and gingerly head over. All right. And got some of the cameras on me right here, and one left to look out the door there. Welcome, Facebook viewers and YouTube viewers as well. I already clicked you on, and 7:22 p.m. Call this the audition start. And we're going to scroll down the page now. Pardon my mic in the face. And it works pretty good that way, though. Picks up all the sound. We're over here on my own computer, my HP 15. And slowly scroll down the page without scrambling its brain. And let's pull that out. Yep, continuing. Page 11. Now, we made it to page... Wait a minute, I should mark that in. Oh, yeah. To page 40. And we'll be resuming, resume Mueller report, volume 2, page 41, and this constitutes episode 24. Alrighty. And so with that, we'll do a short, quick scroll. Zing. And ugh, can't really tell that page. Uh-oh. 53, don't have to go that far. And let's just scroll up a bit. 41, there's page 41. And so with that, we can just get right started. Uh-oh. Where'd that pen go? Dive. And letting the audience know that I have a life beyond doing these radio shows. And today I went and got, yesterday I started it, but I'll be submitting my nomination papers for First District, First Supervisorial District Representative on the San Joaquin County Democratic Central Committee. So I believe I'll have enough signatures to qualify for the ballot. And we have ballot elections for those if we have 6 or more people, more than 5, with sufficient signatures, and they got to have them in by close of business this coming Thursday, December 5th, because the primary is going to be on March 3rd. Wah! They used to have double primary. They'd only have the presidential on March 3rd, and then the rest of it on the first Tuesday after the first Monday in June. But they brought everything forward by 3 months. Wah! Politicking in the winter time isn't as easy as it is in the late spring. So maybe we'll be going back to that someday. But in the meantime, politics goes on, and I'm part of it. Hey, wait a minute. We got the right to be journalists. That's a part-time position, and we, as journalists, what do we want? All the facts. So what if it's a little disruptive to other Democrats? I want all the facts out. That way we can govern better. And so we got the Mueller report, and so we put it out on the air so people will know the facts. It's called completing the circle. We hear Trump talking and see Trump talking, and that's 3/4 of the circle. Well, basically the Mueller report is the other quarter of the circle. What did he do? What does he not want to talk about that he's done? And this is it. So with that introduction, we go forth. We're on page 41, volume 2. Shortly after meeting with the president, Comey began drafting a memorandum documenting their conversation. And this goes back to early February of, January 27th was a big day. And this is Trump and Comey alone in Oval Office. Trump wanted Comey to lay off of Flynn, and this was February 14th, 2017. So we're on page 41, and the day is 2/14/2017. Comey also met with his senior leadership team to discuss the president's request, and they agreed not to inform FBI officials working on the Flynn case of the president's statements so the officials would not be influenced by the request. Comey also asked for a meeting with Sessions and requested that Sessions not leave Comey alone with the president again. And Comey and senior FBI officials did not tell Flynn investigators of the president's request. Comey, let's see, ask Sessions for a meeting and not to leave him alone with Pres Trump again. Alrighty, continuing, paragraph or section 8 of what we started back on about page 35, evidence of obstruction of justice related to the Flynn case. The media raises questions about the president's delay in terminating Flynn. After Flynn was forced to resign, the press raised questions about why the president waited more than 2 weeks after the Department of Justice notification to remove Flynn, and whether the president had known about Flynn's contacts with Kislyak before the Department of Justice notification. The press also continued to raise questions about connections between Russia and the president's campaign. On February 15, 2017, the president told reporters, "General Flynn is a wonderful man. I think he's been treated very, very unfairly by the media," unquote. On February 16, 2017, the president held a press conference and said that he removed Flynn because Flynn did not tell the vice president of the United States the facts, and then he did not remember, and that just wasn't acceptable to me, unquote. The president, this is continuing the paragraph on page 42, the president said he did not direct Flynn to discuss sanctions with Kislyak, but, quote, "It certainly would have been okay with me if he did. I would have directed him to do it if I thought he wasn't not doing it. I did not direct him, but I would have directed him because that is his job." I'm removing the contractions and stating it whole, thus paraphrasing the quote, because that's his job, was his speech. Enlisting the reasons for terminating Flynn, the president did not say that Flynn had lied to him. The president also denied having any connection to Russia, stating, quote, "I have nothing to do with Russia. I told you, I have no deals there. I have no anything," unquote. The president also said he, quote, "had nothing to do with," unquote, WikiLeaks publication of information hacked from the Clinton campaign. Oh my. So footnotes on page 41 are from Comey and Sean Spicer, and there was and that was done in a Senate Select Intelligence Committee hearing on November 15th, 2017, continued, and that was 241, 242, 243, also that day. Comey's one-on-one meeting with the president in the Oval Office. Comey told Attorney General that he did not want to be alone with the president. Comey told Sessions he did not think it was appropriate for the FBI director to meet alone with the president. And Rybicki helped to schedule the meeting with Sessions because Comey wanted to talk about his concerns about meeting with the president alone. And then from Sean Spicer, questions from the press included if the president was notified 17 days ago that Flynn had misled the vice president, other officials here, and that he was a potential threat to blackmail by the Russians. Why would he be kept on for almost 3 weeks? And, quote, did the president instruct Flynn to talk about sanctions with the Russian ambassador? Unquote. From the questions from the press, Priebus recalled that the president initially equivocated on whether to fire Flynn because it would generate negative press to lose his national security advisor so early in his term. And then more from Sean Spicer. And various various Washington Post articles referenced, as well as CNN press reports, and then there was the joint press conference of February 15th, 2017 with Netanyahu, in which Trump spoke. All righty. Here on page 42, Trump denied Flynn lied to him. Trump okay with Flynn speaking on sanctions to Russia, to Kislyak, quote, that was his job, but I did not direct him to do it. To do that. Which is, okay. I have nothing to do with Russia, and that was Trump. All righty. We have 7:41 here at the Voice of Stockton. And we're on page 42, volume 2 of the Mueller report. Now here's section 9. The president attempts to have K.T. McFarland create a witness statement denying that he directed Flynn's discussions with Kislyak. On February 22, 2017, Priebus and Bannon told McFarland that the president wanted her to resign as Deputy National Security Advisor, but they suggested to her that the administration could make her the ambassador to Singapore. The next day, the president asked Priebus to have McFarland draft an internal email that would confirm that the president did not direct Flynn to call the Russian ambassador about sanctions. And I need to get my headset on here. I am being amiss. And this is, oh man, put a break here. Trump wanted McFarland on 2/23/2017 to draft an email stating President did not direct Flynn to talk to Kislyak. But this is, hint, hint, this is after the fact. McFarland told Priebus she did not know whether the president had directed Flynn to talk to Kislyak about sanctions, and she declined to say yes or no to the request. Priebus understood that McFarland was not comfortable with the president's request, and he recommended that she talk to attorneys in the White House counsel's office. Priebus told McFarland to talk to WH counsel concerning email, such an email draft. McFarland then reached out to Eisenberg. McFarland told him that she had been fired from her job as Deputy National Security Advisor and offered the ambassadorship to Singapore, but that the president and Priebus wanted a letter from her denying that the president directed Flynn to discuss sanctions with Kislyak. Eisenberg advised Flynn not to write the requested letter. As documented by McFarland in a contemporaneous memorandum for the record, that she wrote because she was concerned by the president's request. Eisenberg thought the requested email and letter would be a bad idea from my side because the email would be awkward. Why would I be emailing Priebus to make a statement for the record, but it would also be a bad idea for the president because it looked as if my ambassadorial appointment was in some way a quid pro quo. Later that evening, Priebus stopped by McFarland's office and told her not to write the email and to forget he even mentioned it. Oh my! So again, what day are we dealing with? It looks to be 2/23/17. 2/23/17 evening. Priebus to McFarland. Do not write email draft and forget I told you to do so. Paraphrasing. That was page 1. Boy, we're getting the stuff on thick this evening. All righty. Uh-oh, I got to detach some papers here. I get scratch paper because I don't like to spend a lot of money when such is available. And pardon my delay. We have 7:48 here at the Voice of Stockton. This is the Saturday Evening News. I am Richard Slezak, your host, and we're continuing with the Mueller report. And today is November 30th. 2019. So this is a bit of a history lesson. And episode 24, volume 2, page, let's get this page right. What page we on? 43. Page 43. The Mueller report, episode 24. All right. Around the same time, the president asked Priebus to reach out to Flynn and let him know that the president still cared about him. Priebus called Flynn and said he was checking in and that Flynn was an American hero. Priebus thought the president did not want Flynn saying bad things about him. On March 31st, 2017, following news that Flynn had offered to testify before the FBI and congressional investigators in exchange for immunity, the president tweeted, Mike Flynn should ask for immunity and that this is a witch hunt, and in parentheses, excuse for the big election loss, by media, then continuing, by media and Dems of historic proportion. In late March or early April, the president asked McFarland to pass a message to Flynn telling him the president felt bad for him and that he should stay strong. Okay, footnotes on page 43 from Kate McFarland's memorandum for the record. I said I did not know whether he did or didn't, but was in Mar-a-Lago the week between Christmas and New Year's, in parentheses, while Flynn was on vacation in the Caribbean, continuing, and I was not aware of any Flynn Trump or Trump Russian phone calls. And then footnotes, additional ones from McFarland and Priebus. Continuing. And 44, and we have 7:51 p.m. Here's the analysis. In analyzing the president's conduct related to the Flynn investigation, the following evidence is relevant to the elements of obstruction of justice. A. Obstructive act. All righty. Obstructive acts by Trump on Flynn case. According to Comey's account of his February 14, 2017 meeting in the Oval Office, the president told him, quote, I hope you can see your way clear to letting this go, to letting Flynn go. I hope you can let this go, unquote. In analyzing whether these statements constitute an obstructive act, a threshold question is whether Comey's account of the interaction is accurate, and if so, whether the president's statements had the tendency to impede the administration of justice by shutting down an inquiry that could result in a grand jury investigation and a criminal charge. After Comey's account of the president's request to, quote, let Flynn go, unquote, became public, the president publicly disputed several aspects of the story. The president told the New York Times that he did not, quote, shoo other people out of the room, unquote, when he talked to Comey, and that he did not remember having a one-on-one conversation with Comey. The president also publicly denied that he had asked Comey to, quote, let Flynn go, unquote, or otherwise communicated that Comey should drop the investigation of Flynn. In private, the president denied aspects of Comey's account to White House investigators, but acknowledged to Priebus that he brought Flynn up in the meeting with Comey and stated that Flynn was a good guy. Despite these denials, substantial evidence corroborates Comey's account. The Flynn case, and obstructive, okay. One, to let Flynn go, to drop Flynn investigation, three, denied Comey's account of meetings and words. Oh my. footnotes on page 44 come from the real Donald Trump, McFarland. Excerpts from New York Times interviews with Trump on July 19th, 2017, and December 8th, 2017, with Hicks, or that's statements she made in reports to the FBI, that one. In a statement on footnote 368, 269, excuse me. In a statement on May 16th, 2017, the White House said, quote, "While the president has repeatedly expressed his view that General Flynn is a decent man who served and protected our country, the president has never asked Mr. Comey or anyone else to end any investigation, including any investigation involving General Flynn. This is not a truthful, accurate portrayal of the conversation between the president and Mr. Comey." Unquote. At Real Donald Trump on December 3rd, 2017, a 6:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time tweet, quote, "I never asked Comey to stop investigating Flynn. Just more fake news covering another Comey lie." And wow. (12/3, 2017) Trump tweet, Trump tweet denied number one, and quote, "just more fake news covering another Comey lie. Thus saith Trump." Priebus, this is 270. Priebus recalled that the president acknowledged telling Comey that Flynn was a good guy and he hoped, quote, "everything would work out for him." That was the Rents on October 13th, 2017. McGahn recalled that the president denied saying to Comey that he hoped Comey would let Flynn go, but added that he was, quote, "allowed to hope," unquote. The president told McGahn that he did not think he had crossed any lines. And so yeah. Prez said same to McGahn and Priebus. That is yeah. Alrighty, continuing on to page 45. First, Comey wrote a detailed memorandum of his encounter with the president on the same day it occurred. Comey also told senior FBI officials about the meeting with the president that day, and their recollection of what Comey told them at the time are consistent with Comey's account. Second, Comey provided testimony about the president's request that he, quote, let Flynn go, unquote, under oath in congressional proceedings and in interviews with federal investigators subject to penalties for lying under 18 U.S. Code Statute 1001. Comey's recollection of the encounter have remained consistent over time. Third, the objective, corroborated circumstances of how the one-on-one meeting came to occur support Comey's description of the event. Comey recalled that the president cleared the room to speak with Comey alone after a Homeland Security briefing in the Oval Office, that Kushner and Sessions lingered and had to be shooed out by the president, and that Priebus briefly opened the door during the meeting, prompting the president to wave him away. While the president has publicly denied these details, other administration officials who were present have confirmed Comey's account of how he ended up in a one-on-one meeting with the president. And the president acknowledged to Priebus and McGahn that he in fact spoke to Comey about Flynn in their one-on-one meeting. And we look to have 8:02 here at the Voice of Stockton. I am Richard Slezak. This is episode 24 of the Robert Mueller Report. Fourth, the president's decision to clear the room, in particular to exclude the Attorney General from the meeting, signals that the president wanted to be alone with Comey, which is consistent with the delivery of a message of the type that Comey recalls, rather than a more innocuous conversation that could have occurred in the presence of the Attorney General. Finally, Comey's reaction to the president's statement is consistent with the president having asked him to, quote, let Flynn go, unquote. Comey met with the FBI leadership team, which agreed to keep the president's statements closely held and not to inform the team working on the Flynn investigation so that they would not be influenced by the president's request. Comey also promptly met with the Attorney General, who asked him not to be left alone with the president again, an account verified by Sessions, Chief of Staff. FBI Chief James Rubicki and Jody Hunt, who was then the Attorney General's Chief of Staff. Okay, second question is whether the president's statements, which were not phrased as a direct order to Comey, could impede or interfere with the FBI's investigation of Flynn. While the president said he hoped, quote unquote, Comey could, quote, let Flynn go, unquote, rather than affirmatively directing him to do so, the circumstances of the conversation show that the president, who was asking Comey to take the FBI's investigation into Flynn. First, the president engaged the meeting with Comey, so that they would be alone, and purposely excluded the Attorney General, which suggests that the president is the head of the executive branch when he says that he, quote, hopes, unquote, a subordinate will do anything. It is reasonable to expect the subordinate will do what the president wants. Linked the Russian repeated version of let this go 3 times, and Comey testified that he understood the president's statements as a directive, which is corroborated by the way Comey reacted at the time. Let me scroll this up here. Section B, nexus to a proceeding. To establish a nexus as to there's to providing it would be necessary to show that the president, okay. At the time of the president's one-on-one meeting with Comey, no grand jury subpoenas had been issued as part of the FBI's investigation into Flynn. But Flynn's lies to the FBI violated federal criminal law. Then we have harm to an outside organization. By the time the president spoke to Comey about Flynn, Department of Justice officials had informed McCann, who was informed by the who informed the president that Flynn's statements to senior White House officials about his contacts with Kislyak were not true. That Flynn's conduct could violate 18 U.S. Code, Statute 1001. After the vice president and senior White House officials reviewed the meeting, reviewed the underlying, oh my. DOJ officials had informed McGahn, who informed the president that Flynn's statements to senior White House officials about his case that Flynn's statements to senior White House officials about his contacts with Kislyak were not true, and that Flynn had told the same version of events to the FBI. McGahn also informed the president that Flynn's conduct could violate 18 U.S. Code 1001. After the vice president and senior White House officials reviewed the underlying information about Flynn's calls on February 10th, 2017, they believed that Flynn could not have forgotten his conversations with Kislyak and concluded that he had been lying. In addition, the president's instruction to the FBI director to let Flynn go records his awareness that Flynn could face criminal exposure for his conduct and was at risk of prosecution. Flynn at risk of prosecution. Intent. Whoops, wrong way. As part of our investigation, we examined whether the president had a personal stake in the outcome. Oh, I'm losing it. Okay, for example, whether the president was aware of Flynn's communications with Kislyak close to the time when they occurred, such that the president knew that Flynn lied to senior White House officials and that those lies had been passed on to the public. Some evidence suggests that the president knew about the existence and contents of Flynn's calls when they occurred, but the evidence is inconclusive and could not be relied upon to establish the president's knowledge. In advance of Flynn's initial call with Kislyak, the president attended a meeting where the sanctions were discussed, and an advisor may have been mentioned that Flynn was scheduled to talk to Kislyak. Flynn told McFarland about about the substance of his calls with Kislyak and said they may have made the difference in Russia's response, and Flynn recalled talking to Bannon in early January 2017 about how they had successfully stopped the train on the Russia response to the sanctions. It would have been reasonable for Flynn to have wanted the president to know of his communications with Kislyak, because Kislyak told Flynn to request his request had been received at the highest levels in Russia, and that Russia had chosen as a candidate it was passed by the Russian response, calling it a real move, a great move, and the president never said publicly or internally that Flynn had lied to him about the calls with Kislyak. Okay, this is 46. Trump never said publicly or internal that Flynn had lied to him about the call. Oh, okay. About the Kislyak PH calls. Alrighty. But McFarland did not recall providing the president-elect with Flynn's readout of his calls with Kislyak, and Flynn does not have a specific recollection of telling the president-elect directly about the calls. Bannon also said he did not recall hearing about the calls from Flynn, and in February 2017, the president asked Flynn what was discussed on the calls and whether he had lied to the vice president, suggesting that he did not already know. Our investigation accordingly did not produce evidence that established that the president knew about Flynn's discussions of sanctions before the Department of Justice notified the White House of those discussions in late January 2017. The evidence does not establish that Flynn otherwise possessed information damaging to the president that would give the president a personal incentive to end the FBI's inquiry into Flynn's conduct. And evidence very scant. On Trump ordering Flynn to discuss sanctions with Kislyak. Just hours before meeting one-on-one with Comey, the president told Christie that firing Flynn would put an end to the Russia inquiries. And after Christie pushed back, telling the president that firing Flynn would not end the Russia investigation, the president asked Christie to reach out to Comey and convey that the president liked him and he was part of the team. That afternoon, the president cleared the room and asked Comey to let Flynn go. We also sought evidence relevant to assessing whether the president's direction to Comey was motivated by sympathy towards Flynn. In public statements, the president repeatedly described Flynn as a good person who had been harmed by the Russia investigation and the president directed advisors to reach out to Flynn to tell him the president, quote, cared about him and felt bad for him. At the same time, multiple senior advisors, including Bannon, Priebus, and Hicks, said that the president had become unhappy with Flynn well before he was forced to resign, and that the president was frequently irritated with Flynn. Priebus said he believed the president's initial reluctance to fire Flynn stemmed not from personal regard, but from concern about the negative press that would be generated by firing the national security advisor so early in the administration. And Priebus indicated that the president's post-firing expressions of support for Flynn were motivated by the president's desire to keep Flynn from saying negative things about him. Continuing on page 47, the way in which the president communicated the request to Comey also is relevant to the understanding the president's intent. When the president first learned about the FBI investigation into Flynn, he told McGowan, Bannon, and Priebus not to discuss the matter with anyone else in the White House. The next day, the president invited Comey for a one-on-one dinner against the advice of an aide who recommended that other White House officials also attend. At the dinner, the president asked Comey for loyalty, and at a different point in the conversation mentioned that Flynn had judgment issues. When the president met with Comey the day after Flynn's termination, shortly after being told I'm losing it again. At the dinner, the president asked Comey for loyalty, and at a different point in the conversation mentioned that Flynn had judgment issues. When the president met with Comey the day after Flynn's termination, shortly after being told by Christie that firing Flynn would not end the Russia investigation, the president cleared the room, even excluding the attorney general, so that he could again speak to Comey alone. The president's decision to meet one-on-one with Comey contravened the advice of the White House counsel that the president should not communicate directly with the Department of Justice to avoid any appearances of interfering on law enforcement. The president later denied that he had cleared the room and asked Comey, quote, to let Flynn go, continuing a denial that would have been unnecessary if he believed his request was a proper exercise of personal directions. Oh, prosecutorial direction, excuse me. Okay, that ends 47. Alrighty, let me do some electronics check. Oh my golly. Looks like we have 9:20. Looks like we have 8:25. And time has gotten away from me. Alrighty. We started the show at 7:22. We got 8:25, and we're up at the top of page 48. Okay. 8:25. Show close. Resume on page 49. Yeah, this is kind of getting, the paragraphs were long, and that's why I was kind of losing it in there. So, reiteration of history. Trump all back and forth, denying everything. So it's right here, and that was the obstruction, the explanation of the obstruction of justice done to, and the Russia investigation and the Flynn investigation. So let me get over to the big machine and start switching things around. Oh, my. Alrighty, we're back over here at the big desk and at the engineer's table in position. Let me go and do the shutdown on the recorded portion of the show. This has been episode 24 of the Mueller Report, brought to you on the voiceofstockton.org. And we're continuing with live radio. Gonna bid adieu to the Facebook and YouTube viewers. Thanks for tuning in. You're loyal and